Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for another bonus episode of Let's Play 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. In the last bonus episode, we learned more about the experiment of 9 years ago. And in this episode, we're going to look at the AllIce book and see how it's altered now that we know about AllIce. Although I don't think it's too altered. A red file lay in the drawer. Junpei reached down and picked it up. The cover read, AllIce. 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 Did that mean... Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in that file. Each page was covered with strange characters. They looked like tiny drawings of birds and snakes. Birds, snakes, insects, horns, animals, wings, and even kneeling humans. There were many pages in the file, and each was full of these strange symbols. What the hell is this? He didn't realize he'd spoken out loud until Ace looked over at him. They are hieroglyphs, a form of writing used in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt? That's right. Can you read them? Of course. I can't. What would make you think I could? What the hell? Junpei flipped through a few more pages. It wasn't just 1 or 2 pages that were covered in strange symbols. Every single page was covered in them. Trying to read them was pointless. Junpei wasn't going to waste any more time with them. He made to close the file, and something fell out. He bent down and picked it up. A key card. There was a symbol on it that reminded Junpei of the symbols for Saturn and Mercury keycards. This one, however, had a dot in the center of the male symbol. Uranus. That's the Uranus symbol. Junpei looked over to see Ace examining the card. In addition, the Uranus symbol there were 3 words engraved on the card as well. On the lower right, it said, Bottom Deck Library. This must be the key to the library on the bottom deck. So it would seem. The bottom deck. The library. Junpei remembered something he heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet. AllIce sleeps in a small chamber past the forest of knowledge, beneath the navel of the gigantic. Did beneath the navel mean the bottom deck? Did forest of knowledge mean the library? No, again, Junpei, it means a forest that knowledge literally sprouts out of the ground. If it did, then was AllIce in a room somewhere beyond the library? What's wrong? Junpei blinked. Only then did he notice Ace looking at him with curiosity and concern written across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. He began to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make sense if Ace didn't know who AllIce was supposed to be. So he told Ace everything June had told him. About the Egyptian priestess. About Ice 9. And finally, about the woman who wouldn't melt, who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him about how she had been called AllIce, which eventually turned to AllIce, and how she had been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gordian, and how Gordian had hid AllIce somewhere on the ship. And you think that he hid her in a small room beyond the library on the bottom deck? Yeah. Well, I guess so. I see. Ace stared off into the distance, his hand slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, and his brows drew together. Junpei, have you heard of the term CAS? CAS? It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and preserving organic matter. Put simply, it's a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expands as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. Cass, however, works differently. The object to be frozen is supercooled using magnetic fields, and frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food as an alternative to the normal freezing process. Now, however, there are rumors that it can be used for other things. What do you mean, other things? Well, there are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Space travel? Are you serious? Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing? Philip J. Fry has. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space. That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute there! Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you saying that AllIce was frozen using that Cass thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice you call Ice 9 does indeed exist, and if Cass were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, you think she could be alive? Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? If she were put somewhere where she could reach that temperature, like the incinerator... That's nuts! Are you really saying that she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right, it does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then we wouldn't have an explanation... then we would have an explanation for the man we found dead on the floor. You mean the guy dressed like a captain? Yes. He was dead when we found him. Clearly he was murdered. But if he was murdered, then by who? It couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door number 1. Or door 1, rather. That door that required the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened that door? Santa and Lotus. Right. Clearly, the two of them could not have opened door 1, or any other door for that matter. Who else could have done so? Junpei thought for a second. No, nobody. After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from Edek. The four of them proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with Ace, 7, and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone into the shower room, Ace, 7, and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open... Okay, I'm back. Turns out I was right to end the episode there because the audio cut out. And I've discovered that when I hear the noise, that means it's like the cord was jostled too much and it went unplugged. I'm gonna have to unplug it. Well, stop the recording and unplug it. Anyway. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator to door 2 then? No, that would have been impossible. They had been gone only 5 minutes. No human being could have run to the captain's quarters, killed the man in there, and ran back in 5 minutes. It would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? Wouldn't it make sense if his killer was someone who had been in the ship for some time? A person like that would know the ship well. They would know the locations of all the hidden passages and secret doors. The numbered doors would mean nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. Then you're saying the killer was AllIce? It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. Ace drew his thumb across his lips thoughtfully. Well, this is only one possible theory. AllIce. AllIce. Was AllIce indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. the key card in his hand. Yeah, it's still skippable, so I'm 100% correct in my assumption. It would, he hoped, grant him access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the key card tighter and shoved it deep into his pockets. New material has been added to the file screen. I'm trying to hit the damn key. For God's sake. There! Finally picked up the damn key. Now, what's new in the file? You know what? I'm just going to hit new on everything until we know what's actually new. Ah, here we go. Information about AllIce. A file found in the communications office. It says AllIce on the spine. All of the pages are filled with hieroglyphs from ancient Egypt. A numerical system chart found in the captain's quarters. 10 in base 10 is written in hexadecimal. Written as a in hexadecimal. Therefore, 11 is B, 12 is C, 13 is D, 14 is E, and so on. This chart showed the rules for each numeral system, but that's not entirely true. It just shows numbers. Oh wait, no, now I see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A10, B11. Okay, now I'm getting how this is supposed to work. Now that it's too late and I already know the answer. Funny how that works, huh? Okay. Alright, we're just gonna speed past all of this. I could technically cut the video here, just cause we've already seen this, and it's not new till we leave, but, well, whatever, I'll just keep this in, and I guess at a certain point we'll end the episode. Well, obviously, the episode has to end sometime. I can't just constantly film with no end. That would be silly. So 35, 14, 27, 24, 0. Wait. Alright, I forgot to hit enter. Yes! It worked! Good job, Junpei! Excellent. You seem to have unlocked it. Good work, Junpei. Alright. Let's go. By the way, is everyone else just incapable of doing puzzles? Because I find Junpei's the only one that actually does puzzles in this damn thing. Or is he just the designated puzzle master? You found it! A way out! Huzzah! Or huzzah, rather. They stepped out of the captain's quarters and into another hallway. The hallway stretched out in front of Junpei for a bit, before turning left like a great backward L. Junpei rounded the corner and took off down the straightaway. He ran, and ran, and ran. At the end of the hallway was a door. He made straight for it. He was nearly halfway to it when he noticed a piece of paper in the middle of the floor. What was a piece of paper doing in the middle of a hallway? The hallway, rather. Junpei skidded to a halt. Junpei has a lot of jobs now that I think about it. He's the designated puzzle master, he's the map keeper, the key keeper. He's basically doing everything. Aside from the selected specialized tasks that certain people do. And I guess sometimes other people find things that he doesn't. Where was I? Junpei skidded to a halt. He dropped down on his hands and knees and quickly tore the paper off the floor. Now that he had a chance to examine it more closely, it was clear that it was a map. More specifically, a map of the ship's interior for the A deck. What's wrong? Ace, slightly slower by virtue of his advanced age, finally caught up to Junpei. Junpei said nothing, simply showed Ace what he had found. Simply showing Ace. He looked at it long enough to determine what it was and nodded. I see. With that, he began running again past Junpei. Junpei shoved the map into his pocket and got up to follow Ace. But something stopped him. Hey, where's Clover? He turned around. Clover was nowhere to be seen. Damn it! What the hell is she up to? Junpei muttered angrily under his breath and took off back the way he'd come. By the way, a thought just occurred to me. So in the plot lines where we lose Clover, she should also technically have that axe, no? I mean, if she is defending herself. But she doesn't. And she gets killed by Ace, or we don't find her in time, and she might be the killer who killed Lotus to get through a door, or that could have been Ace, so, a lot of variables in those other scenes that could be seen as plot holes. Well, whatever. As he stomped around the corner, he saw her. She was standing in front of the door to the captain's quarters, her hand on the doorknob. As Junpei watched, she closed it gently and quietly. What the hell are you doing? Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? Clover had unconsciously put her hands over the pockets of her jacket, as if trying to hide something. What the hell is that? Phone! Oh, thank God someone answered it. Is there a way I could lower the volume on this, right now? This is... Oh, yeah, right there. This is the house phone, and I'd really like to lower the volume of it before I continue. Speak to house settings, there we go. This will only take a second. There, volume off. Now I don't have to worry about it. What the hell is that? What? You've got something in your pocket. What is it? Well, the zero bracelet is one, and I guess the other one is that cryptic riddle page. Oh, this? This is... a note. A note? Yeah. I found it in the pocket of the guy with the captain's clothes. It says something about the darkness of the sinister hand, or something. What the hell? Let me see it. But Junpei wasn't going to get to see it. From the other end of the hall, he heard Ace's voice. Hey, Junpei! Clover! What are you two doing? Hurry up! Clover shrugged. I'll show it to you later, alright? Come on, we've got to hurry. Or gotta hurry. Before Junpei could protest, she was gone. Around the corner and off down the long stem of the L. Junpei, just be happy she doesn't have an axe in the back of her jacket this time. Otherwise, you and most of the people you actually like could end up dead. A note? A note. Junpei was curious. But there was something else that bothered him. Her pocket had been bulging far more than it would just from a note. Junpei did his best to convince himself that it would make sense later, and ran off after Clover. Junpei pushed through the door and found himself in a large room with a large set of stairs. It was just what he'd expected to see after reading the map. His "I see" after reading the map himself meant that Ace had probably realized the same thing. Junpei looked around, but Ace was nowhere to be seen. He put his hands on the handrail and leaned over to look down. There he was. Not just Ace. Santa, June, Seven, and Lotus as well. Junpei and Clover glanced at each other and hurried down the stairs. They reached B-deck at the same time. Jumpy! Clover! June's face was excited. Something had happened. That much Junpei could tell by simply looking at her. What's up? Given their situation, he was not inclined to be excited about sudden developments. June, however, couldn't contain herself. We found it! Found what? We found it! What did you find? The last door! We found door 9! What? Come on, just follow us. We'll explain on the way. Okay, let's go! Seven turned and jogged off down the stairs. The rest followed. We finally made it! The relief and excitement in her voice echoed what each one of them felt. Yeah, it's finally time. Junpei wasn't quite ready to believe they'd really done it, at least not just yet. Still, if everyone said that it was door 9, then it probably was.